Hi, I'm Jenny Pace, and you're listening to the Better Business Podcast. This is the place for makers, solopreneurs, and product-based business owners to get tips, advice, and inspiration on running their business that's profitable, it's fun, and that's kind of what you want to be doing with your life. I can't wait to share my tips and ideas, to share book reviews, and to help you run a better business for life. Hi everybody, so welcome to episode 9 already, episode 9, can you believe it, of the Better Business Podcast. Today's episode is for you if you have ever been in that situation where you don't love your business. It's not necessarily working for you right now. It's kind of for you, whatever part of the spectrum you sit on. If things are kind of okay, but there are some things that are getting you down, I'm going to have some tips for you. If you're like, I don't even know if I can carry on anymore, I'm going to talk about that too. Let's rewind a little bit and I'll introduce this topic. So running a business is not always sunshine and rainbows, as we know. It can be tough, and especially if you're a one-woman band and solopreneur doing everything yourself, it can be really a lot on your shoulders. So if you find yourself in dark times and questioning things, questioning what needs to change and how much needs to change, today is like some free coaching for you. Some like mini session with Jenny. Here you go. So in a few weeks, I will be celebrating 7 years in business. 7 whole years. And it's made me feel a little bit nostalgic, but I've also been thinking about some of the things that stand out for me in that time, how things have developed, and just the things that I remember in my business. And one thing that I really remember quite clearly, I remember writing a blog post, and I remember going out for a walk to think about what I was going to say in this blog post, because I had put a question up, I think, on my Facebook page. This was before I'd fully moved to Instagram as an option, but I put a question on my Facebook page saying, does anyone have any requests for a blog? Anything that anyone's been thinking about? And the first request I got on that post was, do you have any advice or resources for when you just don't love your business anymore? And I had to take a minute, well, in fact, I took a walk to think about it, because to be honest, at the time, I didn't have any resources, and I had personally in my business not had that experience at that stage. This was, within a year of me starting my business, maybe 18 months, I was still in the falling in love stage with my business. I had had such an amazing start. I was working with great clients. I was busy. I was excited. I was in my 20s and I had all this energy. I didn't have kids. You can picture it. But I was just on this, kind of on this high all the time. It's not that it was super straightforward all the time, but I had all this energy for all of the challenges. And so I was like, I don't think I've been there. But it was interesting because my clients had. I had plenty of experience coaching and mentoring clients out of their darker moments. So, of course, every client and situation is very different, and there are plenty of different things that can derail us. None of us have the same business story. There are plenty of things that can come in and make us fall out of love with our business temporarily or personally. So fast forward to now, 2021. I have had way more experience myself. I've had my own dark days to navigate through in my business. And I have for you today an updated version of that blog post that I wrote back in 2015. So to talk about how to fall back in love with your business, let's start there. Let's start from a place of you're committed to being in business. You're broadly committed to the business that you have, but there are some things that aren't working. Here are some of the common things that I see. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to be the answer, but there's some common things that I see in a lot of my clients. And I'm going to share a metaphor because I love a metaphor. There are a lot of parallels between marriage and business. There's the longevity, they're both kind of intended to be for life or for a long time. The ups and downs, the give and take, the partnership. it makes sense that there might be seasons of your business where you're kind of meh, or you're struggling through a difficult patch. In the same way that you would expect to have that with a marriage. In a marriage, we say for better, for worse, or words to that effect. And in a business, kind of the same. We don't take vows with our business, although maybe that could be an interesting option. But if we follow this metaphor for a little bit, you and your business might need some counselling, or you might need to double down on date nights or a weekend away together. You might need to have a serious chat about what is working and what isn't. And you might even need some time apart to get some perspective. So if you enjoy that sense of the metaphor, you might immediately have some things that come to mind that you could do to rekindle the love for your business. I encourage you to embrace those things. So there are lots of options available. And I invite you to think about what that might look like for you metaphorically and in reality. Here are three observations that I see a lot as a business coach and have seen a lot over the last nearly 7 years. So number one is regaining the balance with your workload. Apparently, in marriage counselling, the most talked about gripe is the division of labour. And I kind of seen that in my work with business owners too. There's a lot of work that goes into business. And in a small business, in a solopreneur business, in a one-woman show, it lands on one set of shoulders, yours. So if you're not feeling the love in your business right now, it might be time to review your workload. What do you hate doing? What's draining you and your business? What can you just not do anymore? And then what can you delegate? So there are a couple of things. You can hire people to do stuff, and I'll talk through some examples in a second. And you can also use tools, technology, automations as well. So customer service. That is a thing that I see soul-sucking a lot of business owners. You can hire a VA to deal with customer inquiries and feedback and all kinds of emails, messages, whatever it is. You can train them up, even if you have that initial investment of time where you have to tell them what to say every single time. Good VAs learn, deal with stuff, and take a huge amount of weight and stress off your shoulders. You can teach them how to track parcels. You can set up systems that work. You can also write some FAQs, put them on your website, as well as give them to a VA to help with. So that's one way that you could stop this from draining your energy. A lot of business owners hate product listings. You can totally take that off your list, find someone to do it for you. Bookkeeping, stock takes, managing social media, all of these are things that you can get support with through VAs or online business managers or freelancers, experts. I'm also going to add booking a photographer. Photo shoots can be expensive, but they are a huge time and energy drain. So unless you really love doing them and have a great setup, it could be worth finding a photographer that you can send products to. A lot of them work remotely and you can just put stuff in the post and they can organise it. So that's just like a whole load of energy you can have back. In terms of automations, research technology, ask for recommendations, keep your eyes out for things that you could stop doing. If there's anything in your business that you're doing that involves a lot of copying and pasting, you can probably automate that. If there are repetitive things that you have to do over and over again, there are probably ways that you can simplify, reimagine, automate, plug in some kind of technology too. So if these are the kinds of things, boring, tiresome, completely draining tasks, please get support and find ways to let them go and have that conversation with your business where you're like, I'm doing all the work here, you need to do more. The second thing is to do what you actually love and get paid for it. And the litmus test for this is if your heart sinks when an order comes in for a particular product, or maybe even a lot of your products, you either need to put the price up or stop selling it. When your products are priced too low, it's easy to be filled with dread, spending time making or packing an order, working really hard and knowing it's not going to really make a difference to your levels of success or happiness. It's time to put your prices up I have said this before and I will definitely say it again. About 80% of my new clients need to put their prices up by at least 20%. Review your pricing. Don't overthink it. Put your prices up. And see what changes. See if that changes how you feel about those products. If you're getting paid for it, does that make a difference to how you feel about making it and processing the order? If you need to put your price up and that prices you out of the market, I want you to test that theory before you assume it will be too expensive. Let's find out first. And B, fine. If you can only sell it by being miserable, it is not worth selling. I have a pricing for profit course. If that sounds like you need some help with product pricing, it's currently on a wait list. You can join the wait list now. I'm revamping it to add some extra resources in, so it will be available at some point during the summer this year. But you can find that in the courses page of my website. And of course, there are some products that fill you with no matter how much you're charging. Just stop selling them. And segue, top tip, little extra piece, is to consider creating products that are more scalable or even add in some passive income to your business. So if you are mostly physical product based, retail based, it might be time to create some things that, for example, aren't personalized and don't take up as much of your time, things that could be part manufactured or finished by someone else, so it's not just you making them. You could create a digital product that's a download that you don't even have to make in order to produce it. You could also look at fulfillment options, having someone else make it and pack it. That works really well for things like prints. There are lots of options available in that kind of area, but adding that kind of product line to your business can just create some space for you to do what you love. A little extra piece on products that don't fill you with joy. If you need to take some products down because they fill you with dread and it means you need to stop selling them, you might need to take some time to create something else that fills the gap, but don't take too long over that. You could find that retiring your product is as easy as the click of a button, and that then gives you the space to work out what is going to replace it income-wise. So if that kind of order-placed dread is a factor for you, have a think about whether you need to charge more or whether you just need to stop selling it and do something else. The third part is work-life balance. We talked already about reducing the labour that you're giving your business, the things that are really boring and draining and you're just ready to say no to. And I guess that's some of those admin things that we talked about in point 1, but also those products in point 2. So with less on your plate and more products or services or downloadable products that you actually love, you are going to be ready or are already ready to create more work-life balance. If you are still feeling really burnt out of love with your business, stuck, take some time off. Again, without overthinking it, without worrying about it too much, book a week off. Give yourself time to reflect, regroup, sleep, allowing yourself that space to really get perspective on your business. That can sometimes be the most important thing to do first. And then there's the ongoing work-life balance. So giving yourself a start time and an end time each day. You might go down to a 4-day week or less if you're already on a part-time hours. I mean, we can all stop multitasking. So if you are, like me, a working mum, get a lot more boundaried. This is a practice that I have all the time. Get a lot more boundaried around the time that you're spending with your kids or not with work and the time that you are working. I always feel 100% better when I am focused on what's in front of me rather than trying to do everything at once. I feel like that's going to be my life's work. That's okay. I know it to be true. The other thing, little recommendation as part of this work-life balance thing, is to book creativity into your diary. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I think it's really important, so I'm going to keep saying it. Having creative time within your business allows you to create your next season's bestsellers. It keeps your passion alive. It keeps the business evolving. So give yourself regular time to play with ideas, to learn, to visit art galleries now that that's a possibility, to connect with other creatives, whatever fuels your sense of creativity, your passion, your just that spark, that is also really important. So those are 3 things: reducing the kind of heaviness of the workload, thinking about your product range and what you're offering and whether it's time to tweak that, change that, and then creating more work-life balance. Those are 3 things if you are committed to being in business but need to change some things. Further down the spectrum, it's possible that making tweaks to your current business isn't going to cut it. You might decide to play with that first, take some of the suggestions I've just mentioned, see if that makes a difference to how you feel. Or you might already know that nothing you do is really going to change how you feel about your business. It might be time to completely change the business, do something else, still be self-employed, but do something else. Or it might be time to opt out of being your own boss altogether. And that is also an option. I like options. You might know that about me already, but I like having options. I like having options on the table. So I'm going to encourage you to put everything on the table so that you can discern what's right for you. If you are in this camp, if you are kind of at the end of your tether, there are some questions to reflect on and to really go into them. So really thinking about what isn't working for you right now. What kind of business model are you drawn to? Is there an alternative to the business you have? Could you pivot into service-based businesses? Could you create a whole different brand in a different niche that's something you can get really excited about and bring your wisdom and your creativity and your expertise to? What is your true and current vision of success? Is it about having a business that is mostly offline? Or is it about creating a more streamlined business that doesn't require as much time from you? What is it that would feel like your version of success? Your version of nailed it? Not capitalism's version of it. What would success look like for you? Allow your heart to speak the truth of that, to lead that vision, because that is ultimately what will get you closer to a business, a life, a purpose that is satisfying to you. You could think about what you're inspired by creatively. That might lead you on a path to think about what's next. And then stepping back and thinking about how you want your work-life balance to look. That's kind of related to the business model question as well, but what would be more aligned for you right now? I could keep going with lots of questions. I'm a coach. That's, asking questions is 50% of the job, to be honest. No matter what happens, I know that you are not served by staying in a business that is no longer working. There are plenty of other options available to you. So explore, reflect, dig deep into how you could fall back in love with what you do, whether that is your existing business with tweaks, a new business, or a totally different path that we can't even see yet. There are so many options. This is a podcast to come back to if you need to in the future. I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions. Maybe you've been through this already. Stories are so helpful. So if you have pivoted in your business, if you've been through some dark days and come out the other side, I would love to hear from you. Maybe it's time for an interview on the podcast so that we can get some real life examples of what this looks like. You can get in touch with me on my website, thejennypace.com. You can also find the show notes there with links to various resources. thejennypace.com/podcast is where you can find all the other episodes and show notes. And of course, you can come and hang out with me and message me on Instagram as well. I'm at thejennypace, especially if you have questions, thoughts, stories to share on this episode and falling back in love with your business. Take care, everybody. I'll speak to you really soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Better Business Podcast. I would love it if you could subscribe so that you don't miss any of the new episodes coming out. And of course, share with any creative business owners. I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye.